guys, so I am here with my friend Erin Johstono from the University of North Florida, where we both attend. She is a senior studying advertising and business management, and she works as the marketing intern for Human Design, doing promotional graphics for recruitment outsourcing on their social media and for events. She's also the director of alumni relations for Delta Gamma. So hey Erin, how are you?
I'm good. How are you doing?
Doing well.
Good.
So Erin is somebody who knows a ton about the Enneagram. She loves the Enneagram.
Yep.
It's something that's kind of new to the culture a little bit. It's been around for a hot minute, but it's kind of new. So for anybody who doesn't know, can you give us like a short overview of the Enneagram?
Yeah. So the Enneagram, I found it about 2 years ago probably through a friend at a camp that I worked at. But the Enneagram, it's basically 9 numbers all connected through a nonagon. And basically each number represents a different kind of person, if you will. So I am a 7, so that means I'm an enthusiast. So I'm genuinely very happy. I like to see the silver lining in things. I will try to make things like happy and light as much as possible. So each Enneagram has its own like set of like things that they like to do, that they don't like to do, you know, core fears, core longings, what makes them happy, how they communicate. And it's honestly just like a nice little like self-awareness and finding out who you are. It's a nice tool for all of that.
Awesome. Yeah. And I know a teeny bit. So I know that like wings are a part of it. So how do wings fit into the Enneagram?
Yeah. So wings, like I mentioned, the Enneagram is composed of 9 different numbers. And they kind of just go in a neat little circle. And since there's no 10, there's a spot at the bottom that leaves kind of like an opening, but they're all connected through lines, and those lines kind of represent your growth or your stress number. So that's what those lines mean. If you ever look at the Enneagram nonagon, you're like, what are those lines? They mean like your growth or your stress number that you go towards when you're feeling those kinds of things. But wings are your numbers that are right next to your core numbers. So me as a 7, I'm an enthusiast, but I could either be a 7 wing 6, which is the entertainer, and those tend to be more loyal, more dutiful, and more entertaining. They want to be happy like a true 7 would be, but they want it with a touch of wanting to be safe. So they kind of identify a little bit more with like a 6. And I am a 7 wing 8, so I am a realist. So I tend to be more bold, assertive, and driven. And I also want to be happy, but I want to be happy with a touch of wanting to be in control of a situation. And I can attest to that. It's very, very real that I want to be in control of a situation. Whenever it's group project time, I tend to want to be the group project leader and like just be assertive and bold like a 7 wing 8 is supposed to be. So that's kind of what a 7 wing, like 7 with the wings are, but they're different for each number. And with the Enneagram test, it doesn't tell you your wing, which is kind of nice because you get to decide your wing. So I like after doing some research of, you know, the 7 wing 8 and 7 versus the 7 wing 6, I realized that I was way more leaning to the side of a 7 wing 8 than I was, you know, the entertainer side of the 7 wing 6. So I was like, I'm definitely more bold and assertive, and I definitely want to take control. So it was kind of a clear, you know, path of like, yes, you're a 7 wing 8. Yeah. just deal with it and be comfortable with it. But there are tools within the Enneagram to help you find out your wings if you don't know like which wing you are. If you are just, I don't know which wing I am, but I know I'm a 2 or something like that. You're either a 2 wing 1 or a 2 wing 3. So.
Oh, sweet. As an 8 wing 7, I totally relate with that, like taking charge of things, but also wanting to keep like the light spirits and always positive. Because everybody listening may not know about the Enneagram, can you give us kind of a short description of each number that comprises the nonagon?
Yeah. So starting at a 1, the 1 is the reformer, or the perfectionist, as it's more, widely known. These people honestly stay true to their name. Like they are very perfectionist oriented. They want things to be perfect. Number 2 is the helper. And that person just wants to help every single person that they come in contact with throughout their day-to-day lives. They want to love on them, they want to help them, they want to fix them. That's a helper. And number 3 is the achiever. This is, you probably see them almost all the time in big corporate companies. These people want to win, they want to achieve and achieve and achieve, and they don't stop until they do. And number 4 is the individualist. So this one is, sometimes it can be confusing for people because you think individualist, you're like, oh, well, they want to be like alone all the time, which is very untrue. They're just very inward thinking. So they are very self-aware, they know their emotions, but they want to talk about their emotions all the time. So it kind of seems like they are, self-obsessed, which is not true. They just have a lot of feelings and they want to talk about them all the time. The number 5 is the investigator. So this is the person who wants to know everything, who is very logical, always wants to get down to the bottom of an investigation kind of person. Number 6 is the loyalist. This person, they are kind of like the helper, but they know their boundaries. So they're very loyal to you and they will help you with anything that you need. However, they will not wear themselves thin for other people like a 2 might. And then you have the 7, the enthusiast, which is me. I tend to have a lot of happiness inside of me, and I like to make everyone I come in contact with that happy. I want them to feel that happy inside as well. I tend to make light of situations when it's, maybe a hard time, or we're talking about something really, hard, or like something that might not bring that, most joy to people. I try to find the silver lining and make it more happy. And then you have the 8, that's the challenger. And Cassidy is actually an 8.
Yes.
Do you want to say anything about an 8? Or
8s are known. A lot of people, I have heard that a lot of people who are 8s don't like being 8s.
Yes.
Which is funny for me because I actually first tested as a 2. Mm-hmm. And even though 2s are very helpful, it talks about them being very dependent on people. Yeah. And I don't like being known as being dependent. Mm-hmm. And so when I retested and tested as an 8, it was something that I was very content with. I really like being an 8 because they're very independent, very much self-starters. Mm-hmm. They'll go out, they want to conquer the world.
Yes.
And kind of like rule the world and very much know that they are not being commanded by anybody. Mm-hmm. They want to be their own boss.
Yes. Another key word that comes to 8s is protection. They want to protect anybody that they love. Mm-hmm. Friends, family, those kind of inner circle people, they will protect over and over and over again. So that is an 8. And then a 9 is the peacemaker. This is someone who is more on the mellow side. They're really great at listening. So they will listen to your side. They'll listen to the other person's side. They're kind of like the mediator, if you will. So 9s are really cool. They tend to be just kind of like mellow and someone you can like go and like talk to and like they'll help you through it. So that's really awesome. But I really wanted to touch real quick on how you said that you mistyped as a 2, because this actually does happen pretty often with the Enneagram, just because the original test you had to pay for. But you can also buy the books and you can take the test that way. Plus there's plenty of different versions that are free. So each test is obviously different. It's made by a different person. So you are probably gonna get mistyped. I've mistyped as a 2 before, but I totally see why. It's because I love to help people. I love to love on people. I want to help like all the time, but I know my core person is a 7. I identify with a 7 so much more than I do a 2. So if you decide to take the Enneagram and you're like, whoa, feeling like the same feelings Cassidy felt of, I don't think this is me, I don't know what happened, you can either try to take the test again, or maybe buy the book, or at least go read the book and read up and like do your research and be like, well, the test said I'm a type 3, but honestly, I think I might be a type 8. And like, that's, again, this is a self-discovery tool for you. So if you think that you're an 8 over a 3, study up on an 8 and see if it actually resonates with who you are as a person. And once you find your number, really dive into it and really like understand who you are as a person, because that just helps tremendously more.
And I know one thing for me, because when I was first looking up on eights, like I didn't like what I found, because a lot of it was like, oh, eights are cold and they're mean and they're people that are like hard to work with. But then I started looking even deeper and found like they're the ones who will find a justice cause and will fight for it like to its death, because of how much they support and love those people, and they really want to fight for the underdog. So you might not like what you first find, because sometimes they like to list the negative qualities, but dig a little deeper for the gold.
Yes, definitely do that. I mean, as a 7, I was told after researching that I hated like hard feelings, I hated sad feelings, I hated negative things, which I never really came to terms with or couldn't really see in my life, because I was always someone who people would come to and like talk to them, and I would give them advice and talk out their feelings with them. So I definitely don't identify as strongly with that. And I think that's where my 2 kind of comes out. But I do see that going through harder seasons, I see that me being stuck with negative emotions, I just want to run, and that's such a characteristic of a 7. So, even if you don't see it right away, dig a little deeper and you'll be able to see how it kind of shines through a little bit.
So talking about your 2 coming out, are you referring to how everybody has like a little part of each number in them?
Yes. So definitely I totally can see how every single Enneagram number is in every single person. And it honestly depends on a situation. So sometimes, since I'm a 7 wing 8, like in a hard situation that needs a decision right then and there, my 8 is going to come out, because they need an in-charge person right then and there. But if it's a friend needing help, like that is when my 2 will come out, and like I will drop everything to go and help them. Or for me as a 7, I tend to be more bubbly and more like, wanting to talk and wanting to converse. But there are some days where I'm like, you know what, let me sit back and let me just listen. And so that's my 9 coming out. So I definitely think every single person has some percentage of each number in them. And it honestly kind of depends on the situation, on whether or not that number is coming through or not. But ultimately, your core number is who you are in your day-to-day activities.
Yep, and I can totally see that day in and day out through different situations.
Definitely.
How has the Enneagram helped you as you personally have prepared to like enter the working world?
Yeah, well, there are definitely some great tools on how each Enneagram type looks like in the workplace. So I am, honestly, as a 7, I'm very scatterbrained. So when like I am working on a project, but I see a new shiny project come along, I jump on that without finishing my other one. So I know for me that each project has to be engaging and hands-on, and honestly short-term if I am going to complete it. So that's really helped me, because I know that about myself. So I'm able to either tell myself, these are the projects that you can take on, because if you take on any more or don't take on these specific ones, you're not going to finish them. But it also helps when I'm able to tell my superior, hey, like this project I can help with, but I might not be able to help finish it because of X, Y, and Z. And, sometimes that might be seen as like, oh, well, you're just not a team player. But like if you explain to them the situation, and I've had the pleasure of where I work at Human, I've gotten to, kind of tell my marketing team like about the Enneagram, and they're super interested in it because I was able to tell them how it helped me like in the workplace, and how I work with others, and then how others work with me, and how we can kind of like bridge that relationship even more. Because honestly, the Enneagram, I only see it as a tool to help you. And yeah, sometimes, like we said, you're not going to like what you see, but in the end, those harsh things that you're hearing about yourself, yeah, they kind of suck, but in the end, it's so cool, because you kind of sit down at the end of the day and you're like, wow, I like see this, and like, how can I improve in that? Yeah. And so that's really nice to take into the workplace, because, there have been days where I'm like, Erin, you were so all over the place today. Like, what did you even get done? And so that kind of makes me step back and like sit down and like, what did I do today? Like, how can I come to work more focused tomorrow? That kind of thing. So it definitely has helped me not only know how to work with myself and like what I'm given, but also how to work with other people, and then me being able to communicate to other people how they can work with me more efficiently.
Yeah, that's so good.
Yeah.
Is there anything about the Enneagram that you don't like?
Not specifically about the Enneagram, like content or information. I mean, it is kind of frustrating when you mistype and you're like, well, this is weird. Like, you're like, this didn't work. What the heck? And you're expecting it to work right away. But, you know, just as like everything else in the world that was created, like it might take a couple tries before, you know, you get it right and you find your groove. I personally don't like when people use the Enneagram as their be-all, say-all, tell-all. Like, it is, like, the final word. And I'm like, well, that's wrong. I'm like, it's a tool to help you self-discover yourself, but in the end, you know, me being Christian, like God has the final word on me, and not the fact that I'm an Enneagram type 7. That's great that I know that about myself, and that, you know, I have some downfalls, but I also have some really, like, high highs. Like, that's great, but I really don't enjoy when people think that it's just like the holy grail. I'm like, it's not. It's a great self-discovery tool, just like Myers-Briggs, just like all these other things, like taking a test on BuzzFeed asking, what color are you? Like those little, like, you know, type of personality tests that we see all over the place. It's just a nice self-discovery tool that has a lot of information and a lot of like data and testing put into it, which is really nice, but I just don't like when people use it to like constantly direct their life, because at the end of the day, like I might realize, you know, Erin, you have avoided every single negative feeling that you have felt today. Like, how can you feel them? And I'm like, okay, now that you are feeling them, how can you point yourself back to truth in Jesus? So it's almost just like a stepping stone, and I don't like when people use it as like the final destination.
Yeah.
So
I can say that's definitely a pet peeve of mine.
Yeah.
And it's something I've been guilty of too.
Yes,
Because
definitely.
as an 8, when I get like angry in situations or like angry at people, because that is the feeling that 8s are most in touch with, is their anger, and kind of being able to take that rage, which is why they go for justice causes.
Yes.
But when I'm kind of feeling that feeling, I'm like, oh, it's because I'm an 8, instead of not always being able to connect it and be like, okay, but I know that about myself. How can I rein the anger back in and kind of control it?
Yes. And so that's what I mean by it's literally just a self-discovery tool, and it's a stepping stone for you to become like your better self, instead of using it as, well, I'm an 8 and that's it. Or like, I'm a 7 and that's it. Like, no. There's so much more to you. It's just a tool. So use it to help you better your life, but also see what else is out there.
Definitely. So since we now know your least favorite part of the Enneagram, or kind of the way that the Enneagram is used, what is your favorite part of the Enneagram?
My favorite part of the Enneagram is probably how it's taken on its own form in like Christianity. So a lot of Enneagram people have found you know, the types and the numbers to kind of show attributes of God, and like how can we use this tool again as a stepping stone to Jesus and to being better Christians. How can we use that? And it's something just more physical that we can tangibly like look into and feel every single day, and it can like tell us like self-discovery. So like one of the things, this is Enneagram Enthusiast. It's on Instagram, an account that I follow. But she posted about 7s, different types of worship songs for each type. So for a type 7, it's Here Now by Hillsong United. If you haven't listened to that song, it's really good. But she highlights the chorus, how it starts out, Here now, still my heart, let your voice be all I hear now. Fix my eyes on things that I can't see now. Spirit breathe like the wind, come have your way, because I know you're in this place. And so for a 7, anybody who reads that and they're a 7 and they're a Christian, they can really resonate with that, because for a 7, when we start feeling those negative emotions, all we want to do is run away or find the next thing that's going to make us happy. And that's not always healthy, and that's not what Jesus wants for you at all, because sometimes those things are of the flesh, and like Jesus just doesn't want that for you at all. So kind of this song is reminding yourself of like, no, I need to be present in this emotion. I need to be present in this hard time. But it doesn't always have to be negative. It can be like good things too, because as a 7, when a good thing comes along, we're always like, okay, well, this is great, but is there something better? And so with this song, it's saying, here now, like, still my heart, and just remind yourself of, like, whether it's good, whether it's bad, like, Jesus is still in the moment, and he's, like, still here, just reminding yourself that he's in this place, and then reminding yourself to, like, fix your eyes on him, because that's what matters, instead of the negative or happy emotions that you're dealing with right now. So I think that might be some of my favorite parts of the Enneagram. And as a 7, since we're so happy, a lot of times we are a reflection of God's joy and abundance. So, like, we remind ourselves, like, we're, like, made in God's image, and, like, because I am so joyous and I have so much, like, abundance of happiness, and I just want to give that out to other people. Like, you can really see how God made you in his image. Like, when you realize, oh, I am a type 7 and I have all these happy characteristics, how does that relate back to God? And it kind of just, like, makes you think. But it also really helps you realize, like, how you can lean on him in, like, the hardest times, is because since you want to run away from your emotions as a 7, how can you, like, what can you tell yourself about Jesus, about God? Go back to a Bible verse that's going to make you stop and, like, really dive into what you're feeling. And initially that just brings you back to God and talking to him, and being in his word and stuff like that. And so it's really nice. Like, obviously it's not perfect, Enneagrams, and when they pair with the gospel, like, it's not be all tell all. Like I said, it's not the end, and, like, ultimately, like, the Bible is, like, God's true word, and, like, it's what he's telling us. So that's where it kind of don't, like, cross the thin line of, well, the Enneagram 7, like, Here Now song, that's my song, and so, like, that's what I should listen to, and just know that, like, that's not the end. Like, there's so much more. That's, again, just a stepping stone for you to get to where you're supposed to be with Jesus.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for sharing
Thank
with us
you.
today. If anyone listening wants to connect with you, where is the best place to do that?
Well, just like a typical college student, I'm on all the social media. You can follow me on Instagram at Erin_Shelby. I do have a blog if you want to,
Whoop, whoop.
hit that up. It's at Rooted Delight. And then, I'm on Twitter at Erin Shelby, which is my middle name, by the way. Some people get confused and they think it's my last name. It's my middle name. But yeah, Twitter at Erin Shelby, Facebook, Erin Johstono. Other than that, I am around on UNF's campus all the time, so come and say hey.
Woo!
Hey.
Thanks again.